Welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So today here I have another pen to review, and this is a pen that was sent in from Visconti. Thank you, Maurizio, for sending this to me. This is a new addition to the Homo Sapiens range, and this is the Visconti Homo Sapiens Bronze Swirl. And this is a pen that is absolutely gorgeous. Now, I like my Visconti Homo Sapiens, and I have a number of Visconti Homo Sapiens, and I'll show you. So I have 10 Visconti Homo Sapiens here, from the London Fog, the Florentine Hills, the Jade, the Chianti Sheer, the Caput Mundi, the Bronze Age Marzi, the Dark Age, the Elegance, and the Corsani 90. So, as you can see, I do like the Homo Sapien range of pens. So, when this one was announced, I really liked the idea. I absolutely love the ribbon effects that you have on some of the Viscontis, like the London Fog, like the Florentine Hills, like the Chianti Sheer, and they really do make the pen look lovely. Visconti have recently, starting I believe with the Chianti Sheer, started to add like gold into the swirl. And although this probably isn't gold, and it's more bronze, it does look a little bit goldish in complexion. But obviously bronze for the bronze swirl. So for me, this pen really is gorgeous, and I think this pen is going to sell really well. It's limited to 888 worldwide, like many of the other Homo Sapien range of pens. So it is a limited edition. Once it's gone, it's gone. But it is really nice. Now, one of the things I like about the Homo Sapiens is the overall length, the size, and the weight. For me, this pen is really perfect for me when writing with. Now, I find that it's not too heavy, it's not too light. I find the section is actually spot on in terms of the actual diameter that I like on my pens. For me, I think this is the overall size and weight, especially for long writing sessions. Now, I know not everybody likes heavier pens, and this, although is heavier than some, it's not as heavy as some of the more heavier pens like the Opera Masters. But for me, this is really lovely. And you can see why, because I have already 10 other Visconti Homo Sapiens. So I do like the size, I do like the weight. So let me just show you a few parts of the pen here. So starting on the top here, we have the Visconti finial. It's a My Pen system, so you can remove that, put your initials on there, or put a gemstone or birthstone. And then we have the Visconti bridge clip, and that's very springy. We have the two Homo Sapien bands here that you see on most Homo Sapien pens, and I'll say most because there are maybe a couple of exceptions. And then you have this very much like ivory type material for the cap, and then also you have it for the section as well. If I remove that, and you'll see there. Now, this comes with a 23 cat palladium nib, and this I asked for a 1.3mm stub, and it comes with a white feed to match, or more of a cream feed, I should say, to really match the more creamy ivory-like material that is on this pen. And it has a hook-safe lock mechanism. It has the double reservoir system here for additional ink, and you can lock the ink off when flying so it doesn't leak. You have the piston rod here, and it's a power vac filler. So this holds around 2.5 milliliters of ink. So that is a huge capacity if you want to fill the pen up to its fullest. So the body itself tapers down towards the filling knob, and like I said, this is a power vac filler. So if I remove this, and you'll see there's the plunger, and then that sucks up the ink into the barrel. Now, this pattern on this pen is really lovely. I love that there are aspects of this like bronzy gold type look. You can see here you have these like goldy bronzy type swirls, but they then almost like twist and double over on themselves, so you get to then see the white parts of the swirl, and then you see them coming back, and it's just really lovely. I do like the way that this is done. Now, obviously, every pen is going to be unique, so you are not going to get the same swirl pattern as on this pen. Some may have more bronze type swirls or more white to it. Some may be more straighter, more rounded. It's just the nature of how these pens are made. But for me, this is a really, really nice pen, and I do love it. I think this is a really good addition to the Homo Sapiens range. I think the goldish bronze type look on the swirls, coupled with the white on the rear of the swirls or the underside, and then the ivory like look of the cap and filling knob and section. Initially, when this was announced and we saw promotional photos of the pen, this looked more white and not ivory and not textured, and I wasn't a big fan of that. But seeing this now in person, I can really see that this looks much better than the promotional photos that we got to see. So the bridge clip is enamelled. Now, I know for some people they prefer enamel, some people prefer the laser etching. I don't know. I'm a fan of both, to be honest. I have some Viscontis that have the laser etching and some with the enamel. But you can see though that this pen really, really does look lovely. So, what are the downsides to it? Well, I really can't find any downsides. It has a huge ink capacity. It's a Homo Sapiens. I like the Homo Sapien range. It has a double reservoir. It has a power filler as well, and it has the 23 cat palladium nib. So, for me, this is a perfect pen. And as you can see, I have 10 other Homo Sapiens. So, for me, this definitely is a perfect pen. Now, in terms of how does this look compared to my other ones, now I have, I guess, 3 others in the Homo Sapien range that have the swirl. I have the London Fog, the Florentine Hills, and the Chianti Shit. I really like the London Fog the most, although I'd have to say this is actually starting to look maybe even better than the London Fog for me. And that is saying something, because the London Fog is my ultimate grail pen that I really do like. So this, for me, is a great pen. Now, other than that, like, there's really not a lot more to say about this pen. Other than, like, we'll see how it writes. Now, I did ask for a 1.3mm stub nib in there, and that's what I have. So we'll see if it's a very wet writer or a dry writer. So let's do a size check and weight. So the length of the pen is around 145mm in length with the cap, and the cap itself is around 60mm. Now if we uncap the pen, we are looking at around 132 millimeters in length. And let's do a weight check. With cap, we're looking at just over 42 grams. The cap itself is just under 16.5 grams, and the pen fully inked, we're looking at just under 23.5 grams. So, I think let's do a writing sample, but before we do that, I just wanted to show you. So, I have this pen fully inked up now, so you can see the more darker or brownish ink colour that is in this pen, and you can see the reflection there with the bronze swirls. And I think still, even when inked, this pen looks really nice, especially with the white under parts of those bronze swirls. So I think let's do a writing sample. So this is the Visconti Homo Sapiens bronze swirl, and it is a 1.3 millimeter stub, and it is a 23 carat palladium nib. Now, the ink I have inked up today is Robert Oster Cafe Crema. Now, this pen is actually, it's a 1.3 millimeter stub. Not all stubs will write really wet, but this is writing pretty wet. So I just want to show you, so in terms of no line variation, that skip was me, and now by applying a little bit more line variation, you can actually get quite a lot more here. Now, in terms of cross strokes, it's very, very narrow, which is what you would expect from a stub. So in terms of the swirls, or the figure of eights, you can see here. Now, you are going to get line variation if you push the nib. Now, it's a 23 carat palladium nib, so I really, that's me not aligning the nib properly. The problem with stubs is you do have to align them more so. But for me, this is a really, really wet writer. So let's try doing a wetness test. So that's the first one, and then we'll do the downstrokes, which puts down a little bit more ink. So you can see this is actually quite a wet nib. Now this is what I would call fire hose of a nib. So if I actually do, there you go. So anything from a fire hose, I would say, is probably from the midpoint onwards, and this really doesn't disappoint. This is a really, really nice nib. So this is, now so these are normal swirls or figure of eight. Now if I try to put a little bit more pressure, you'll see the slight difference that you can get here on line variation. But again, I wouldn't try and push this nib massively because it is a 23 carat palladium nib. Now, the one thing that you do have to contend with this inked up is that you will have what looks to be a dirty or inky feed. And let me show you this zoomed up a little bit more. This is one of the reasons why I don't like white feeds, because they do look very dirty. I do prefer a black feed or a different coloured feed, I would say. Black normally I think is the standard. The other thing is that you can get some pooling of ink between the nib collar and the section. So you might find that you do actually start to see some ink pooling there. So that's another downside really to I guess having a white or ivory coloured section. So I'm not normally a fan of those because it does show up the ink a little bit more. The ink shouldn't stain the section, the outside. It's just that the nib and feed fits into a collar that goes around it, and that screws into the section here. So ink gets between that collar and the section, and that then can basically make it look as though you have stained section, even though it's not. So it also just makes it a little bit harder to clean as well. So I think from that perspective, we just sort of, you have to bear that in mind. But I think the pen itself is a gorgeous, gorgeous pen. It writes extremely well, and I really, really do like it. So this for me is a grail pen for sure. I think Visconti have done a superb job with this pen. It's only limited to 888 pens worldwide, so once they're sold out, they're sold out. But I do like the colour combination that has been used here on this pen. I think in hindsight I would prefer a slightly darker ivory version, maybe with a little bit more brown in it. I think this also could have been called the cappuccino pen, or the mocha pen, or even maybe the espresso pen, because if you think about the previous models like the Chianti Shear, which is the wine, or the Caput Mundi, which was labelled red wine for North America, I think this could have been pulled off as a cappuccino pen. I think this, or a mocha, this really does look coffee related, and I think that would have gone down well because Italy is a nation of coffee lovers. That said, I also like the name Bronze Swirl, and I think that really does also describe the pen pretty well. So there you have it. That's the review of the Visconti Homo Sapiens Bronze Swirl. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.